On today's show,
we discuss Oladipo's season-ending injury, Harden's 61 points in MSG, and Reggie Jackson's ill-timed video bomb.
Before the real ones are announced on TNT tonight, we pick our all-star starters.
And Buddy's got bounce in our brand new edition of the Meme Team.
It's Thursday, January 24th. The starter starts now.
Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to the starters presented by Jack Daniel's Old No. 7 and Tennessee Honey. I'm J.E. Skeets, alongside me as always, Tass Mellis. We've got the Aussie Lee Ellis, and over yonder, well, that's the bearded one. That's Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
Hey-yo! Trey, what's up tonight?
Well, I'm here at the internet looking for your best tweets at hashtag the starters. And on yesterday's show, Lee showed us a beautiful fan sign from a nice couple named Brendan and Lynn Dahl. The fan sign was a hilarious illustration of Lee that we've been laughing at since basically the moment we saw it. They got him looking like Don Corleone with the orange in his mouth. And that's where you come in. We want you to hop on Twitter and fill in the blank. Illustrated Lee looks like blank. The internet's already been having some fun with this picture. We got some great tweets earlier today. So many people think that Lee looks like William H. Macy in this picture. Really hard to disagree. I also like this from Kyle Mann, who says, I was going to say Stephen King, a wide-mouthed fellow. Chris says, he looks like a Sesame Street character, Philip, if I'm not mistaken. While Carl Young said it looks like he tried to eat one of his bananas whole and got it stuck. Yep. But the best answer, no doubt, is from Shi Hung, who says that was a very Oakley-dokley play. You'll see a lot of Ned Flanders talk in this thread, no doubt. But we want to hear from you, so hop on Twitter, fill in the blank. Illustrated Lee looks like blank. Send us your best tweets to hashtag the starters. We'll laugh later.
Get those tweets in. All right, on tonight's show, we are going to select and maybe debate our All-Star Game starters ahead of the big announcement on TNT tonight. We got a brand new edition of the Meme Team, and we got a very solid play, Oakley-dokley play, whatever we're going to call it tonight. But let's start with some true or false, because a lot was going on in the association last night. Trey, take it away.
Bad news out of Indiana last night as the Pacers' Victor Oladipo suffered an ugly leg injury that turned out to be a ruptured right quadriceps tendon. The injury will require surgery. Oladipo will be out for the season. Pacers did get a win last night. They're currently in third place in the East, so true or false, the Pacers will remain a top 4 seed without Oladipo.
It stinks. It's terrible news. They could remain a top 4 seed because they play very, very good team ball, and they showed it without Oladipo earlier this season. They had an 11-game stretch. They played 7-4, and if you include last night's game where he went out and the other game where he went out this season, they won both those games. Right. 9-4 basically without Victor Oladipo, but a bit of a softy schedule, even though those guys are playing great ball under Nate McMillan. And the fact that Philly and Boston are right behind them, and I don't think we've seen the best of those two teams in the 4 and 5 seed, I think they probably drop out, around the 5 seed. But Nate McMillan has to be a Coach of the Year candidate. He is getting so much out of a guy you see there in Thaddeus Young, Bojan Bogdanovic, Corey Joseph, up and down the roster. So they will drop because Victor Oladipo made them almost an elite team. They were borderline amongst the Eastern Conference elite. I really wanted to see how that team got 82 games and then went into the postseason. I think they could have knocked off a lot of those teams. I think if they do stay top 4, they will knock off one of those bottom teams.
I think the good news is they're probably going to fall no lower than 5th because Brooklyn is 7 games back of them still, and they just lost Spencer Dinwiddie as well for a month. So it's going to be a little bit of a struggle for them. The big question is who comes in. I think it's Tyreke Evans will probably come in and take that starting role because he did that earlier in the season. But that just then weakens the bench for Indiana. So other guys are going to really have to step up and carry the load because sometimes you see when a guy goes down, the rest of the team sort of galvanise them, they get all excited and they really want to show this guy that they're not going to fall apart without him. But, of course, with still so much time to go, the Pacers have to show that they can survive without him and also thrive, and that's going to be the big challenge.
Yeah, I unfortunately do say false to this as well. I think they will follow the top 4, but at least it says something that the question isn't, hey, will the Pacers completely fall out of the playoffs? We're asking, will they still have home court in the first round? And I think that says, one, about how deep this team is and some of these guys that can step up and try and carry the load with Oladipo out. It also says a lot about the Eastern Conference. There's no doubt how shallow it immediately gets, after the 5 best teams that are in the East. I think that says that as well. But to me now, the Pacers have to sort of be the Celtics of last year, the 2018 Celtics, when they lost Hayward right away, their star player, their all-star-like guy. And I know they still had Kyrie. He eventually went away as the season went on. But they had all these guys just take on a bigger role and surprise a lot of guys. Now, a lot of their guys on the Celtics were younger, and you got some more vets in like a Thaddeus Young and that team in Indiana. But Aaron Holiday's got to be like a Terry Rozier now, where he's got to take his game to the next level. I think it's possible. He played quite well in more minutes when Oladipo was out. So, I'm not writing them off. I'm with you. They're well coached. They know their identity. They know how they play. And yeah, it sucks. It'll hurt them in a playoff series without your star player, your go-to guy in Oladipo late. But they're still going to put up a fight. They're still going to be a really, really tough regular season team, which will keep them in play there for at least, for sure top 5, but maybe even top 4.
I think they would beat any of the non-top 5 teams in a playoff series, and they could definitely face, whether it's the Nets or the Heat or somebody at the bottom. And the way they play without Oladipo already this season, they could knock them off.
Yeah, still an unfortunate injury, especially a guy that had already missed some time and it sucked. Yeah, exactly. All right, next one here, Trey.
James Harden cannot be stopped. His latest tweet of excellence is hanging 61 on the Knicks in a win, breaking Kobe Bryant's record for points scored in Madison Square Garden by an opponent. Harden's averaging 52 per game over his last 5 and has all the opportunity in the world, but how far can he take it? True or false? James Harden will score 70 in a game this season.
Wow, 70. I think it's true. And you have to listen to me when it comes to James Harden predictions, because 3 years ago, I said that the New York Post headline would be Madison Square Harden with James Harden going off in MSG. And then, of course, last night he goes for career-high 61. And we get that very headline, Madison Square Harden.
So you mean
with a similar photo?
Exactly. That's the creepy part.
By 2022, he's going to get 70 points.
No, I'm saying, no, I know. We're sort of joking here. Only 11 times have we ever had a 70-point game in NBA history. The last one, Devin Booker, oddly enough. Before that, Kobe, wilted it a million times. But I do think it's in play. Harden goes for 61. Now, a ton of free throws again, and people are upset about that, but he's going to always get there that 20, 25 times and knock them down. But I only went 5 of 20 from three-point land. He hits 3 more threes, which isn't that far-fetched. We're talking about a possible 70, or the game even goes to overtime and then 70's in play. So, as crazy as it sounds coming out of my mouth, I think there's a legit chance this happens.
He's got 3 games against the Phoenix Suns, another one against the Knicks in Houston, 2 against the Kings. I know they're better, but their defense is still not great, and the Hawks. So there are teams that are not very good defensive teams. We know scoring is just way up this season, so there is going to be a chance. And also, Chris Paul is supposed to be coming back very soon, but that could actually help James Harden because the defenders know they have to sort of keep their eye on Chris Paul a bit.
No.
James Harden's going to go crazy.
That's the interesting part.
That does not help James Harden. He hasn't had a plus 50-point game, over 50 points with Chris Paul in the lineup because they don't want that. They don't want James Harden to do absolutely everything because everybody else just stands around. Mike D'Antoni said it post-game yesterday. We stink because of it. It hurts us because of it. Let's look at this realistically. They barely beat the New York Knicks when a guy scored over 60 points. That's not a good thing. Everybody
else beat the Lakers too,
right?
And they lost to the Sixers when he only had 38.
Yeah, exactly. And again, he hasn't scored over 50 with Chris Paul in the lineup. Chris Paul questionable on Friday. Chris Paul is going to take some of that off of him. That's a good thing for the Houston Rockets. It's a great thing for the Houston Rockets that he doesn't have to score. As Trey said, he's averaging over 50 points his last 5 games. That's a ridiculous number. I don't think he gets to 70 because he was knocking on 60's door plenty this season. He hasn't gotten close to 70. He hasn't got close to 70 quite yet.
No, but 61 against the Knicks last night, but 58 against the Nets, 57 against the Grizzlies in 34 minutes, we should point out, 54 against the Wizards in a lot of minutes, and then the 50 there against the Lakers in 35. I think it's in play. I think he's going to have one of these nights where he's going to be Curry-like from 3, where he or Clay-like from 3, where he does knock down 11 or 12 threes. Then you add into the fact that he gets to the line. I mean, 84% of his shots are threes or at the rim.
But he got 25 free throws in this game, and that's sort of like the limit if you're playing within the style of the game and the flow of the game to get 25 throughout the history of the NBA. It's either a guys get maybe more than that, but that's the max. He hasn't been getting that many free throws. Like we're trying to carve this, like slice this and dice it. It's amazing what he's doing. 70 would be remarkable,
Let me ask you, if he goes,
highly unlikely, maybe in 2022.
If the game goes to overtime, double overtime, triple overtime, and he gets 70, will you still count it?
Why not?
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Why wouldn't you?
No, I just want to make sure, that's all. All right, final one here.
The Pistons beat the Pelicans last night, but it wasn't pretty. However, not quite as cringeworthy as Reggie Jackson's post-game video bomb.
It's just nothing to be proud of, man. This is just masking our issue, you know what I mean? Like, we gotta lock in and finish games. Like, our lack of focus at the end of games has been awful. That's why we lose games like this. So I'm not necessarily, I'm happy with the win, but I'm not necessarily happy with how we closed this game out.
It was a great start for you guys tonight, and that has been an issue at times this season. How much did you kind of take it upon yourself to get guys going?
I didn't know you got an interview, you know what I'm saying? I was closing. I'll get you in a minute.
True or false? Reggie Jackson had Wednesday's most embarrassing moment. Tough to beat.
Well, yeah, embarrassing. You used a better word, I think, there, Trey. Cringeworthy, for sure. They won this game. They won this game. Blake is talking to the guy after the game, and then he's talking about how, they almost blew it because they don't have the focus and all that. It's like, the comedic timing is amazing here. Reggie's just clueless. And then Blake he doesn't even, muster up the sort of fake laugh even. He doesn't even really do that. He sort of smirks, but I think he's smirking at the fact oh man, this is going to be a bad clip with what I'm saying. I don't know how it gets worse than that.
Well, that's usually safe video bombing territory, right?
True.
Anytime in a post-game interview, you can go video bomb. Reggie Jackson has no idea what's going on.
Okay, that's right. But then Blake usually would go, come on. They want to stop talking to whoever they're talking to and just chum it with their buddies. He doesn't even do that.
Yeah, no, it's cringeworthy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not cringeworthy, but I think PJ Tucker in a very close game. We got a 4-point game here. 40 or just under a minute left.
He forgot how to play.
Yeah, he just didn't know where he was
how
for
to
a
play.
second.
For some reason, I don't understand, because if he thinks he has to take it out, why doesn't he just pick up the
Yeah, I know, it's so weird.
Gordon's face. What are
Okay,
you
but
doing?
also, why doesn't Eric Gordon actually maybe try and help out? He just gives up. And
Why doesn't Noah Vonleh pick it up?
Yeah,
as
that was
well?
like 4 times.
It's so weird.
If the
Everybody's
Knicks had come back and
confused.
won that game from that,
Then maybe you would. This
yeah,
would be ahead of
yeah.
that, but because they held on.
Yeah,
and
I
won.
mean, the Pistons won too, but the Rockets managed to pull it out. So.
I guess the Rockets aren't used to touching the ball. James Harden's always
like,
touching the
James will
basketball.
bring it up. He'll score. All right, let's hear from you guys. That's a tough one. Which one was more embarrassing? Reggie with the video bomb or PJ Tucker just forgetting how to play basketball there for a second. All right, when we return, we're going to select and debate our NBA All-Star Game starters ahead of tonight's official announcement.